The first MLS transfer window closed yesterday. We'll see who made moves next on The Daily. Welcome to The Daily for Tuesday, April 17th with Andrew Wiebe. I'm Jason Segini. Yesterday, the first transfer window of the MLS season officially closed. The last day teams could bolster themselves until later in the summer. The biggest signing had to be Chicago Fire getting Rolfe back on their roster.
Yeah, a return of a goal scorer to Chicago, a guy that for many years was one of the leading offensive lights for them. Speed player, a good finisher. The question now is, where does he fit in the offense? You've got a forward tandem up there that's been pretty set for about the last season, certainly, and then most of last year in Dominic Oduro and Patrick Nyarko. Does he come in on the left side where Marco Papa has made his mark? Does he come in on the right where they've got Roballo and had been playing Logan Paz some as well? That's the big question in Chicago. But that's a great signing for them here midseason.
Yeah, nobody's going to argue with getting some more depth on your roster. Couple more teams that added depth at forward. The Philadelphia Union signed Kai Erdling, a German forward. What do you make of this signing?
Good. He's got a good record in Germany, but it is in the fourth tier in the Regionalliga Süd. He's got 14 assists this year, leads that division, 9 goals. So certainly there is some quality there. The question is, how does that translate to MLS, and what was the level like there in Germany? Yeah,
to be fair, he's on Hoffenheim's team, but played for the reserve team, which plays in the lower divisions. And then out in Portland, we have another signing, and interestingly, another son of a former Colombian national teamer. This is Sebastian Rincon, a forward who's actually been with the Portland Timbers since February.
Yeah, Freddie Rincon's son, and he's a guy that John Spencer said they've liked, they've been looking at for a while now. Actually trained at Santa Fe with El Trencito Valencia, so a little bit of familiarity between those guys as well. But a big guy, 6'1", 175. Should be some added depth there, but he's only 18, doesn't have a lot of professional experience, so you wouldn't expect him to come right in and light it up right away.
All right, there's plenty of other signings to keep an eye out for. Teams waiting on ITCs. Stay tuned to MLSsoccer.com all day for more on the international signings from yesterday. Moving on, there's midweek action in MLS this week, including the undefeated Sporting Kansas City headed out to Vancouver. They have 2 games this week, Wednesday against Vancouver. Saturday is at Portland, so this is going to be a tough week for them, really make or break, and they're going to have to do it without their midfielder, Julio Cesar.
Yeah, hamstring strain for Julio is going to keep him out more than likely against Vancouver. That's almost certain. They're also saying probably against Portland. Big thing there for Kansas City. They've jumped out to the 6-0 start without doing almost any squad rotation. The only change to that starting lineup that's been made is CJ Sapong coming in for Teal Bunbury in the second game of the season. Since then, nothing has changed. Also, Sporting Kansas City has only played in 2 road games, both narrow victories over DC United and Chivas USA. So it'll be interesting to see how they respond 3 games in 8 days and on the West Coast on the road.
Yeah, and we'll see how important that pickup of Paulo Nagamura was in the offseason. We actually had Peter Vermees on Extra Time Radio yesterday to talk about this. He talked about the squad rotation and what he thought of his team being able to do this game in and game out as the season went on. We also had Chris Pontius from DC United, a hero from the weekend's matchup with the New England Revolution. You can get Extra Time Radio on iTunes or Buzzsprout. With the midweek action, you have to get your fantasy roster set a little early this week. And who better to get advice from than the only undefeated team left in the Extra Time Radio Experts League? Andrew Wiebe, how are you setting your team for this week?
Well, first of all, I want to say it feels good. Jason tried to throw some of the credit away, but I think the one thing you want to focus on this week are those players that play multiple games. Obviously, you have 2 midweek games, DC and Montreal and Kansas City and Vancouver. The more that you can load up on those guys, or if you already have them, play them, put them in your roster. That's kind of a point multiplier there for you. You've got more than one chance to really gather things up. And if you do have a captain, make sure he's one of those guys just so you can double those points.
All right, well, also coming out on the site later today, keep an eye out for the power rankings. The top goes pretty much unchanged, but what did that big win against Portland do for the LA Galaxy? Check out the power rankings later on MLSsoccer.com, and we'll be back on The Daily tomorrow.